We are joined by our friend Miranda Devine. She has books like Laptop from Hell and The Big Guy. Got a great piece at the New York Post as well, where she's a columnist on the Secret Service situation with the Bidens, the IRS whistleblowers, so much more to talk about. Miranda, thanks for being here. Let's start with this. The IRS whistleblowers who were the ones investigating Hunter Biden, and you were all over that story, as we know, and this audience will remember you from that. They were initially ostracized. They have gotten quite a promotion under Trump. Tell us what's going on here.
Yeah, hi, Clay and Buck. This is absolutely fantastic news, and really, I think the first vindication that we've seen in the Trump administration of these valiant whistleblowers. There were a number of them who stuck their head up above the parapet to warn the American people about various malfeasances under Joe Biden. And these two guys are IRS investigators, Gary Shapley and Joe Ziegler. They were the ones who kiboshed the Hunter Biden sweetheart deal on his tax crimes. And that was 2 years since they've been ostracized and retaliated against by their superiors in the IRS. And so Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, has just jumped in, promoted both of them to important positions, first of all, as senior advisors in his office, helping guide the reform of the IRS. That's going to be pretty radical. And then after 1 year, they will go back into the agency in very senior leadership positions. And in fact, today, Scott Bessent has said that Gary Shapley, who was the senior supervisory agent on the Hunter Biden case, he will be the deputy head of criminal investigations at the IRS.
There's a lot going on, Miranda. It's like every day you got to keep your head on a swivel. But even when it comes to crazy levels of insane corruption, were you blown away by how many people were protecting Hunter Biden? Because Buck and I, when we had this conversation on the show, I mean, I was in disbelief, to say nothing of the fact that he's going on luxurious vacations to South Africa while he's claiming poverty here in the United States. And I'm glad, by the way, that the Trump administration has pulled the protection of Hunter Biden. But even with the understanding of how much craziness and wasted funds there are in the federal government, did it astound you how big the security detail was for Hunter Biden?
Not really, because I have seen him, for instance, last summer when he was in court in Delaware in Wilmington over these gun felonies that he was convicted on. Every day he would arrive in a gigantic motorcade, of black Secret Service Cadillacs with, I don't know, it seemed like vast armies. Donald Trump has said there were 18 Secret Service agents with him in South Africa. That kind of makes sense because he has 2 agents assigned to him. His wife, Melissa Cohen, has 2 agents. So that's 4. You've got 3 shifts of 8 hours. So you're already up to 12. And then, you've got to have extras because they can't be expected to work 7 days a week. So it kind of makes sense that 18 agents would have flown over to South Africa. We're told by Garrett Ziegler from Marco Polo, who's had a private eye following Hunter Biden because Hunter Biden's suing him, and he wanted to find out if Hunter Biden was sort of flouting the court orders. And Garrett Ziegler has said that Hunter Biden is spending 90 days in Cape Town with his wife Melissa Cohen, who was born.
How many days?
93 months.
This is crazy, Buck.
And what's he having a vacation from? Because he never does anything. He's never held down a proper job since he first left university, and he went and worked for one of his father's, donors in Delaware, MNBA or MBNA, which is a big credit card company, that gave him a job on an inflated salary that he would not have had if he hadn't been Joe Biden's son. And he was bored with that, so he just walked away from it. And ever since, he's just grifted off his father's name.
How is the Biden brand doing for the grift these days, Miranda? We had a sad story that we had to bring to this audience that if any of our listeners had purchased a Hunter Biden
Yeah.
oil painting, unfortunately, the value does not seem to have skyrocketed.
Yes, I know. It's funny, isn't it, how as soon as Joe Biden lost power, Hunter Biden suddenly broke. He can't sell his paintings. No one's buying his awful book. Funny about that, and they're not giving him jobs. Oligarchs are not offering him millions of dollars to do nothing. So he's now crying poor, and he told the court in California that he couldn't continue with his lawsuit against Garrett Ziegler and Marco Polo because he just didn't have the funds to pay his lawyer, which sort of made sense because Abby Lowell is a pretty expensive lawyer who sort of marshaled all his court cases while Joe Biden was vice president. But after the pardon, he seemed to vanish from the scene. And I remember being in court one time and Abby Lowell was complaining bitterly about, being short on resources. So, and that was after Kevin Morris, the sugar brother, the other lawyer from Hollywood, had said that he was closing his wallet to Hunter after having funded his lifestyle for so many years and also paying off about $6 million in his tax debts to the IRS. So Kevin Morris has had enough. He's not spending any more money, and so Hunter had to pay for his own lawyers. So maybe he stopped paying them because they didn't show up in California. The judge, I think the court had to send out an APB, and finally Abby Lowell popped up and said, "Oh, I've always been working for Hunter Biden," but he had not. He had disappeared. So now he's back on the scene, and the money just ratchets up every hour that guy gets paid. And Hunter Biden is saying he doesn't have the money, so maybe he doesn't.
We're talking to Miranda Devine. I can't get over 90-day vacation to South Africa. I mean,
Don't get any ideas, Clay. No 90-day vacations on this show, sir.
He doesn't have an actual job. Like, what is he vacationing from? Like, this is like, how many people get to go on a 3-month African safari, basically, from not having a job in the first place? Like, how does he need to be able to rest and rehabilitate? But I will say, how much difference is it for you, Miranda, and in just this world that we live in now, to instead of when you're writing articles during the Biden administration, everyone says, "Oh, that's made up. Oh, that's not true," to when the New York Post article that you wrote about Hunter Biden's Secret Service detail following him to Africa, the Trump team reads it and they're like, "Yeah, that's over. We're pulling that." That has to feel amazing to be able to know that you're doing good investigative journalism. And not only is it being widely distributed through the New York Post, which I believe deserves all the Pulitzers that the New York Times and the Washington Post actually got for Russia collusion for what you wrote about the Hunter Biden laptops, but how much better does it feel to know that whatever you produce can be acted upon and often will be acted upon by the White House?
Well, I just have to put in one caveat that it wasn't really my investigative prowess that got this story. It was actually Garrett Ziegler and Marco Polo with their private investigator who gave the photographs to Laura Loomer, who then very kindly said that I could use them. So, I didn't really do a hell of a lot myself other than I talked to or tried to get the White House to respond and also the Department of Homeland Security and also the Secret Service. And I have to say, they all went to ground. They were not at all helpful. They sort of tried to gaslight me in the beginning. Finally, way past my deadline, the Secret Service spokesman gave me a quote that said, "Well, we can't go into methods and blah, blah, but we can confirm that Hunter Biden is a protectee." So I published that quote, published the story. There's outrage. Our reporters in Washington tried to get a question in at the White House press conference, but were not called upon. And then later that day, in a gaggle, I think at Air Force One, it was, I think a Washington Times reporter actually asked the president about the Hunter Biden 18-strong security Secret Service detail in Cape Town. And Donald Trump said, I haven't heard that before, which, I mean, maybe that's the case. He's very busy. And he said, well, I mean, 18, that sounds excessive, and I'm going to look at that this afternoon. And sure enough, he then pulled not only the 18 agents that were with Hunter Biden in Cape Town, but also 13 agents, he said, were assigned to Ashley Biden, who's Joe Biden's daughter, the only daughter he has with only child with Jill Biden, Hunter Biden's half-sister. And, neither Ashley Biden nor Hunter Biden were eligible to have Secret Service protection after Joe Biden's term ended. It's only the children of former presidents up to the age of 16. So there was some, and apparently what I was told off the record was that Joe Biden made an executive memo before he left office to extend Secret Service protection for his adult children indefinitely. And nobody in the Trump administration had stepped in to stop that until Donald Trump did, until we amplified the work of Laura Loomer and Marco Polo.
All right, I've got a question for you, Miranda. I don't know if you saw, but I'm going to be traveling on Air Force One with President Trump this weekend to go to the NCAA wrestling tournaments. Question
I'm
for
going to be
you.
there too.
Oh, you're going to be there. You're going to be on the plane.
No, I'm not going to be on the plane, but I'm going to be at the tournament with Tony Bobolinsky, who's one of the other brilliant whistleblowers in the Hunter Biden case.
I didn't feel left out before, Miranda, but you and Clay taking tequila shots while watching the NCAA wrestling, I might have to hitch a ride or something.
All right, well, I've never met you in person, Miranda. I was going to ask you I hope to see you on Saturday then. I was going to ask you for advice. I bet you've been on Air Force One before. Should I know anything?
Yes, I went once about 3 weeks ago when I interviewed President Trump. The food is great. I don't know if you'll have enough time to have a meal. The presidential suite at the front of the plane is plush and gorgeous. So I would just keep your eyes peeled. I didn't because I was so concentrating on my questions, but keep your eyes peeled for decor. I wish I'd done that. And get a photograph of yourself. Get the White House photographer to take a photo of you in his office, in Trump's office on Air Force One, interviewing him, because that will be a memento for the ages.
I can't wait. I'm so excited about getting to go on Air Force One. I just wanted to ask your advice. By the way, how do you think I'll be received by the White House press corps? Do you think they'll be fans?
Well, hopefully you won't be actually with them. They sort of are parked down the back of the plane, and you probably will get to sit up closer where the staff are.
That would be much better.
And then you'll get the first class service, the more comfortable seats, etc. Look, I think probably most of the reporters who are in the White House pool, I know we have our New York Post reporter, Stephen Nelson's been in that several times. I think most of them are just professionals who are trying to do their job. It's only occasionally you'll get someone like that NPR woman the other day who was so clumsy managing the boom mic that it basically crashed into Donald Trump's face and brushed across it. I don't know whether that was deliberate or not. Who knows? But it was certainly clumsy. So I think there are a few real anti-Trump people who are in that press pool. So hopefully on the day that you go, they won't be there.
Fingers crossed. I'm looking forward to seeing you Saturday, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I hope we get a chance. I think there'll be a lot of people there. But Tony Bobolinsky is an absolute legend, Penn State wrestling champion, and obviously whistleblower champion against the Bidens. He was Hunter Biden's former business partner, and he really went all out during the campaign in Pennsylvania to get the whole Penn State wrestling team on board with Donald Trump, which they are. And so we're rooting for Penn State.
Awesome. I can't wait. Miranda, keep up the killer work, and I hope to see you this weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much, guys.
She's done such a good job. She's fantastic.
You and Miranda get to hang out this weekend.
Well,
the Buckster getting left behind while you and Miranda are clinking the champagne glasses flying around on the jet. I see how it is.
I will say, Miranda, because you killed it at, what was that, the New York speech that you gave?
Oh,
No,
she's
no, but
gone
for
now.
Buck, like,
Oh,
when you
me. Oh, yeah, yeah.
she
Yeah.
texted me when you
I spoke
were
at the Metropolitan Republic. The Buckster is fantastic at the live events. Just throwing that out there for any of you who are looking for a keynote. And I gave a speech, and she missed it. But then we hung out afterwards, and
well,
Carrie and
she
I.
texted me and said, "I heard Buck was great at his New York speech. I want to be able to hang out with him." And I was like, "Well, I got to get you guys on a text chain." And you guys just
You,
went
you
out
know
and
your
partied the night away.
you know your boy Buck gets it done. No notes, no nothing. Throws down. That's how we do.
By the way, appreciate everybody out there who was at the Nashville Davidson County GOP event last night. I spoke to them in the great state of Tennessee. So if you guys are listening right now, really fun time there. Appreciate y'all hanging out there. And if you're out there right now and you're thinking, you know what, I need a little bit more education, maybe about the Constitution, maybe about World War I, maybe about World War II, maybe heck about Mark Twain or Jane Austen or all different sorts of different topics out there. It's really kind of amazing. You can get hooked up right now at clayandbuckforhillsdale.com. The incredible work of the Hillsdale faculty on video, no grades, no schedule other than your freedom. Do you want to learn a little bit more? Would you like to have more of knowledge? Maybe you didn't get to go to college. Maybe you didn't necessarily make it to every lecture and you've got some education you'd like to stack together. Again, no grades, no schedule other than your own. It's learning for learning's sake. Go check it out. I'm blown away by how fantastic this is, all for free. clayandbuckforhillsdale.com. One more time, clayandbuckforhillsdale.com.